Ina mana, ina reo, ina karangarangataha, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ko matua te rohi o Tamatea Central Hawke's Bay, ko Alex Walker toko ingoa, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. It is a pleasure to welcome you here this evening. My name's Alex, the Mayor of Tamatea Central Hawke's Bay, and a welcome to everyone here who's in the room with us today, to our submitters and members of the community who are with us on Zoom, and also our independent hearings panel who are here to hear our district plan. And it's very important to me that we are undertaking this process, because anyone who's engaged with Central Hawke's Bay District Council over the last few years will know that community input and participation in the decision making that we are making on behalf of the district is very, very important to us. And as we work together for how do we shape what a thriving future looks like in this district, how we work together is how we will get the best outcomes. And tonight is important because when we move into a district plan hearing, it's a little bit different from when you've been and submitted to us on other plans and strategies and work that we might have done with council before. This is a different decision-making process with a different level of rigour, and so tonight is about setting up everybody who is going to help contribute to the plan and the decision-making for the plan to make sure everybody is armed with all of the right information and knowledge to be able to participate and get the absolute best out of this for both you and your submission, but also ultimately for the decision-making for the district. So this evening, it is my pleasure. I'm going to be handing over to the panel to take us through this evening. And in charge is going to be our independent chair, Robert Schofield. But before we hand to Robert, I'm going to hand first of all to our kaumātua, to Roger Marker, who is going to offer a karakia this evening before we get started. Enjoy the evening.
Tēnā ko te koro watra mi hea te kia koe. Ki hona nui ki au ki te timata tātou hui I te pō nei. Ki noi tātou, whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, ma kina ki uta, ma kina ki tai. Ka tio ki ngā tākura, he tio, he huka, he hau ihu, tihei mauri ora. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora everyone, ahi pai, and good evening. Yes, tonight is all about helping people understand the process, putting faces to names so that you know who you're talking to. For instance, if you need to talk to Jessie, you know who she looks like. And it's a chance to open up to questions if this is your first time involved in a hearing process, especially about district plans, because the district plan process is quite a bit different to, say, a consent hearing. We're trying to find the best long-term management framework for the district for at least the next 10 years, if not more. And so we are here to be assisted by everybody. So whether it's council officers, submitters, experts, or whatever, they're here to advise us and give us the best views, the best information, the best evidence, and the best advice. So I'll just introduce myself very briefly, who I am, where I come from, and then I'll get the panel members to do similarly, a short introduction to themselves. I'll have the chair of the district planning team come and introduce herself. We have a little video clip from our friends of the submitters. This is a method that councils use for maybe particularly large, complicated processes like district plans, where there may be a lot of people who have never been involved in a hearing process and whatever, and are looking for a bit of advice, can ask those dumb questions that they might not want to ask anyone else, and get just confidential advice around the process, not about advice on the issues or anything like that, but just about the process and how best to work your way through that. I will then do a little overview of the hearing procedures and protocols, and this is based on the minute number 4 that was issued a little while ago. It's just basically a summary of that. There shouldn't be anything new in my presentation, I don't think. And I will then open the floor to questions. We have people on Zoom who will be zooming in and can answer through the chat mechanism. Loretta here will be just keeping an eye on them and managing that side of things. So thank you, Loretta. So yes, I'm Robert Schofield. I'm a planner based in Wellington. I've been a planning consultant since I started way back in 1985, when hearings were completely different. Everyone brought evidence on the day and read it out word by word by word by word. And they also swore on the Bible at the beginning of it as well. And usually the hearing panel were up there somewhere and looking down on everybody. And that was standard throughout New Zealand. So hearings have come a long way since then. We are required under the RMA to make them as informal as possible. But there are certain rules and procedures that we have to follow. So I've been based in Wellington. Wellington is my hometown, but I've done work right throughout New Zealand, particularly in the lower North Island. And in the last 20 plus years, I've started doing commissioner work as councils have been seeing the benefit of having independent commissioners come in and hear matters. So I've done a whole range of hearings from very small resource consents through to district plans and regional plans and joint applications and designations, etc. So I've never done one here in Central Hawke's Bay, so this is the first for me. I'm sort of familiar with it. I've spent a couple of holidays here and in Hawke's Bay, and I'm an inveterate explorer, so I love exploring places. So if I've been up to Napier for some reason, I might come back the back roads just to explore places. So I love doing that, and I have done that here too. So I'm looking forward to the hearing process. I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's views and opinions and what they're wanting the best for the district, and that's what we're here for. But it has to be an efficient process. So I'll outline some of the rules around times and things like that, just to keep everyone informed. So with that, I might pass over to my right. Tim, would you like to start?
Down to me, right. I'm Tim Aitken, councillor now. This is my second term as a councillor. I've lived in Central Hawke's Bay nearly all my life. Actually, I have lived in Central Hawke's Bay all my life. I was a farmer in a number of areas. Had a deer farm up in Tikakino, and in that process spent a lot of time as a director with Deer Industry New Zealand, Deer Farmers Association and First Light Foods, going around, travelled reasonably extensively with First Light Foods, looking at the international markets. I'm still a director on a couple of other companies and own another business up in Auckland. Did my commissioner's course in 2017 for the first time, and have sat on some hearings to date, not many, but a couple. And I was on the committee that started looking at the district plan back in 2016, was it? 2016, 2017. So for me, this process has been going for a long time, and I'm quite proud of looking where we're at, and I'm really looking forward to the hearing process in the next few months. And hopefully we'll have a plan at some stage.
Thanks, Tim.
Kia ora, my name's Roger Marker, and I'm from here. Actually, I was born here in Waipawa, and went to school, lived in Takapo for my younger years, went to Central Hawke's Bay College. I left this area for quite some time and travelled and did all sorts of things. And came home in 2009 and moved back to Takapo and bought my present home, and that's where I live with my daughter now. I've been involved in environmental issues in a formal sense since the early 1990s, where I became involved with the Indigenous Flora and Fauna inquiry. And then when I was overseas in central and northern Canada with Indigenous people over there and their issues with their forests, and ended up into the Arctic Circle, and then came home and became a commissioner. Since then I've sat on several inquiries in Hawke's Bay, and then was part of the tail end of the Transmission Gully, one that's still going on now in Levin. So like Tim, I've watched this grow. Our district plan is is so far out of date it doesn't matter, and it's been years of getting it right. It doesn't serve its purpose any longer, and hopefully the new model, which a lot of work has gone into over the past 4 or 5 years, hopefully that serves the purpose, and also hope that submitters will take the opportunity to assist us in looking at the plan clearly and amending it and fine-tuning it to the needs of our communities, not just, as Tim was saying earlier, not just today, but into the future.
Kia ora koutou. My name is Loretta Lovell. I'm the other independent commissioner, also harking from Wellington, although in my case I am well, not born and bred, but raised, and all my whakapapa is in the Hawke's Bay. I've lived in Napier, lived in Wairoa, where I'm from, married a good homeowner boy, and have a strong connection to the Bay. I've been a lawyer for my troubles over 20 years, and I've been an environmental commissioner probably about 10 or 11 years. I've sat on a range of panels and boards, and I'm looking forward to working with my fellow panel members and to listening to submitters and to the council and working towards improving and bettering the plan for the betterment of Central Hawke's Bay. Kia ora koutou.
Kate?
Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa, ko Kate Taylor taku ingoa. Ko tā pua e nuku te moanga, ko mātou te awa, ko wakatipu te rotu, ko Pākehā te iwi, kei Takapo, aho I noho ana, ka moe aho ia Thomas Taylor, he kai tuhi, me he kai kaunehera o tamatia taku mahi. Tēnā tātou katoa. I did level 2 Te Reo last year, and I'm determined to practice it at every available opportunity. Hopefully I pronounced everything correctly. So I am Kate Taylor. I'm a first-term councillor. I come from West Otago originally. The names at the start of my pepeha there were the Blue Mountains and the Clutha River, which connect me also to Lake Wakatipu, which has a very special family connection for me. So that is where I am from. I now live in Takapo with my husband Thomas, and we have 2 now adult, I can't believe I have to say that, children. Lachlan is 19 at Otago University and Sarah is 21 at Victoria University. As I said, I'm a first-term councillor. I've been a freelance rural journalist for 21 years, a journalist for 33, longer than I care to admit perhaps, and I'm really looking forward to this process because like with being on council, it's something that I've always viewed from the outside, and it is a very, very different process to be sitting on this side of it. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gosh, that's a very hard act to follow. Good evening, kia ora. I'm Pip Byrne. I'm a Ruataniwha Ward councillor. This is my first term as a councillor. I've lived in Central Hawke's Bay, actually was born in Wellington, but lived in Central Hawke's Bay for 40 plus years. Yeah, quite some time actually. I've got 25 years experience in the HR or human resource profession, mainly in the rural transport industry, but some civil contracting and horticulture. During my career, I've become very interested in disputes resolution, mainly advocacy and mediation. So when I was given the opportunity to, join or become a commissioner on the district plan, I thought, that's sort of a natural progression. So that's something that I've, really taken the balls by the ball. By the ball. Anyway, so I did my commissioner course last year. So I'm really looking forward to being part of the district plan.
I'd just like to turn to the district plan team. So these are the people helping provide advice and helping organise everything for the district planning hearing process. So Helen, would you like to just introduce yourself and your team?
Kia ora, good evening. Thank you. Kia ora, good evening. A number of you will know me already, but for those who don't, I'm Helen O'Shaughnessy. I've been working with the council for a number of years now on this district plan review, and I'm part of the district plan team. And as one of the panel members has already described, it's been a rather long and intensive process, and so we're really delighted to have reached this really important milestone. And really looking forward to concluding throughout the hearing process. I also will be adopting the role of one of the reporting officers, reporting on some of the significant natural areas and also some of the provisions in the tangata whenua chapters. In terms of introducing the team, I think you've already met Dylan Muggeridge. Sitting next to him is Jessica Williams, who is our new district plan administrator, and most of you will be dealing directly with Jessica in terms of responding to our invitation to let us know if you would like to appear at the hearings. And sitting behind Jessica is Tiffany Gray, who will be undertaking the role of helping the panel with the decision report writing. And next to Tiffany is Stella Morgan, one of our Section 42 reporting officers from Sage Planning, and Rowena McDonald, another one of our very special Section 42 reporting officers from Sage Planning. Kia ora.
Thank you, Helen. Kia ora. Okay. Helen, were we going to have the video clip with Lily now, or after questions? After questions? Okay, that's good. So we'll have the video clip, just a short clip of Lily introducing herself and explaining her role a bit later. So I've got a little presentation here. I'll try and make it as brief as possible because it's all about processes and protocols and requirements and all that good stuff. But I'll keep it as short as possible. After that, we'll have some questions. We'll have that video clip of Lily. And then I think there's some tea and coffee and things if people want to just to say about. We do have to follow the rules in terms of distancing and things like that. That's one obvious thing we have to do when we're getting up and around, and we'll put our masks on as well. The other thing too is we're here to talk about the process, the hearing process. We're not here to talk about any substantive issues or any specific submissions or anything like that. We're just here to tell people and explain to them how the hearing process runs and operates. So just to make that clarification. So I'll just get on with the thing. Right, I won't go through the agenda. So some of the principles behind the hearing process. So it's got to be appropriate, transparent, fair and efficient. Those are the 4 key words to any hearing process. And they run and rule everything really. As I said, we try and avoid unnecessary formality. There's got to be a certain degree of that anyway, but we try and cut that back as much as possible. We use pre-circulated reports and evidence to make things more efficient and to provide more time for people to read things and think about things and respond to things rather than leaving it to on-the-day kind of matters. We have to recognise tikanga Māori as appropriate. And importantly, we have to avoid cross-examination. So we ask the questions. There's no lawyers or anything firing questions back and forth across the hearing. So conflicts of interest in terms of fairness and transparency. This is a big one for New Zealand because we are a small country and everyone knows everyone ultimately by 2 degrees. So all commissioners have to bring an independent sort of view to things, an open mind, free of conflicts of interest that could result in bias or predetermination. That's the key words there. So conflicts could be because of close personal business relationships, and I mean quite close, just knowing somebody doesn't necessarily make that close. Financial interest in an outcome, so having a pecuniary interest. Previously expressed a strong view or position on a certain subject, so have an outstanding view on something that is up before us as a district plan matter. But it is, as I said, New Zealand is a small world and connections are inevitable, and not all of them represent a true conflict. So what the normal practice for hearings now, particularly large-scale things which covers a multitude of interests and issues, is to develop a register of interest or connections. So we've all contributed to a register of interest that just goes through all the submitters and identifies where we possibly have some sort of knowledge or relationship, and identify where we think we have a true conflict and what we're going to do about it. And usually that is that we won't be, say me, I won't be hearing a certain submitter because I have that, or taking part in deliberations on that submission at all. So I'd withdraw myself from hearing that. And concerns. So if people do have concerns around conflicts, do raise them as early as possible, not on the day. And panel members will stand aside if it's agreed collectively there is a conflict of interest. As I said, not everything necessarily represents that, but as I said, it is a small world. The next topic is about hearing support. So you've heard from our district plan team, and you've met Jessica, our hearings administrator, and where required, council officers or technical advisors providing expert evidence, say, I don't know, noise, for instance. So all communications, and I've put that in red there because that's the important thing, is all communications, especially to us, it needs to be through Jess. The hearings website is the critical portal for ensuring that all the necessary information to support this process is available to everyone in a timely manner. So we're really blessed now that we can have on the day, almost on the hour, information going up online now, and we can tell people that it's there. We don't have masses of paper to print out and post and things and wait for New Zealand Post to do their job. And the final comment here is managing a district plan process is logistically complex. I don't know if anyone warned Jessie how complicated it's going to get. She's going to be juggling hundreds of balls. She's got all these submissions, she's got hearing processes, people will be changing their times, and I can't make it on Tuesday, you know. Be nice to her. She's got a really hard job to do. And we'll try and be nice to you too. Okay, noted. So I've just copied this very cool little diagram that just shows you the statutory things, the things the RMA requires around the hearing process. That's on the council website and things. I'm not going to go through that at all, but that's just to understand there are some things we have to do. Section 42A reports, this is a very nice title, isn't it? You're going to get used to this. There's worse little references here. The reports that the council commissions to assist a hearing process. So whether it's a district plan or consent process, you can issue Section 42A reports, and I don't know a single council that doesn't do that. It's there to help everybody, not just the hearing process, but all the submitters and what have you. So those reports analyses the issues that are raised by submitters and the changes and outcomes they seek, and considers them against a whole range of matters, you know, the statutory requirements, regional direction, regional policy statements, their own district planning policies and things like that, and just sort of regional and local circumstances as well, because, you know, one size doesn't fit all. One district plan that may work for, I don't know, Northland or West Coast is not necessarily the right fit for here. They might rely on supplementary technical evidence, as I said, like landscape planning. So they will be uploaded to the website not less than 15 working days, as is required, prior to the hearing to which they relate. So they'll be issued in bundles ahead of time of the next bunch of hearings. So they won't be issued all at once. Then the submitters will be contacted to say, it's up online, here's the link. So here I've highlighted in red too. Section 42A report is advice to the panel. It carries no greater weight than any other evidence put to us, and the author of that report is not involved in deliberations. That's another big change from way back when I started, when that person would have been sitting in there helping the councillors make that decision. So that doesn't happen anymore. All right, so turning to submitter representations and non-expert evidence. So submitters can present their submissions themselves, and we encourage everybody to do so. We're here to make it as easy as possible, or they could go through some authorised representatives. Often that may be a lawyer, but not necessarily. It may be someone who's deemed in the family to be a good talker. So we encourage a written statement. We're here to take notes, and we will take notes, and mine are indecipherable to anybody but mine. But the more we have in written stuff, the better. So we've got your words in front of us, not our paraphrasing your words. We're giving the guidance that any written statements or legal submissions longer than 3 A4 pages be lodged with Jesse not less than 2 working days before the hearing starts, just to give a bit of time for us to read things and just to get up to speed. Shorter statements can be provided on the day, as they say, but please bring some copies if you can. 10 copies would be good. And if you can, give an e-copy, email an e-copy to Jesse. So there are some requirements in the minute around using PowerPoint presentations. Again, that's a matter of just going ahead of the hearing, not leaving it to the last minute if you can, and helping with that side of things. So turning to submitters' expert evidence, if submitters have got expert evidence coming to support the submissions, they can present expert evidence, and there will be certain timeframes around delivering that to the council, so the council can put it online and let everyone know it's there as well. So an expert is a person equipped by training and experience to provide an independent expert opinion on issues of relevance. So they've got to be independent. They've got to comply with the Environment Court's Expert Witness Code of Conduct, which basically says they've got to be the right expert for the topic. They've got to have the qualifications and experience. They've got to be independent, and they're there to assist the court in that case, or us in our case. So, another thing, more jargon here, but substantive changes being sought to the plan should really ideally be to help us supported by what's called a Section 32AA evaluation. That's basically, and having a track changes of the things you want to have changed. A Section 32AA is basically an evaluation of why your changes that you're seeking are appropriate, or even more appropriate than what's currently been notified. Say you want some new policies in there, you sort of have to test them against the objectives of the plan to say why they're appropriate to meet those objectives, that sort of stuff. So often that will be done by a planner who may be supporting a submitter. Next is about pre-circulation. Now I won't go into this too much, but we'll have timetables ahead of each hearing that you've already seen around what dates we can expect at the latest stuff. I understand the Council Section 42A reports for the first hearings are coming out ahead of time, which is great because it gives everyone more time to read and think and respond. So everyone's hearing the evidence will go up online. We just to keep things tidy, what you see here is a panel of people. We may not all be sitting on every single thing, so there may be 1 or 2 of us not sitting on a particular hearing. So what we want is the right panel to hear the right evidence or the right legal submissions. So keep your brief of evidence to the topic of the hearing, not try and cover other hearings coming up or just gone, just to make sure the right people are hearing the right thing at the right time. Now, I won't go into this. This is in the minute number 4 around what sort of formatting and things. That's it, yeah, just to provide consistency and make sure we look at things and know where to look for things. Provided track changes version of any plan provisions you want changed, that will be very important. What is really important too is number your pages. I haven't put this up, but it's really hard work, and I've got a classic here with no page numbers where you're saying on page, so please number it and number paragraphs as well. That's even better as well. Won't labour that. Expert conferencing. So what happens sometimes, not always, is that hearing panels can direct that expert conferencing can occur before or often afterwards, after a hearing, trying to get the experts to come together and to shrink down the areas of contention, of dispute, and so that we don't have to turn our minds to things that basically everyone agrees on. And again, there's an Environment Court practice note around conferencing, but I will say it's mostly likely to be confined to planning experts, but not necessarily. we don't necessarily have to direct it. If there's a spontaneous outburst of conferencing outside here, that's great, that's fantastic. If you want to try and help our process, our thinking by shrinking down the experts' views to matters of sort of in contention, that's great. Again, work through Jessie. Submitter coordination. So often you might get a number of submitters who are presenting a similar position on a particular issue. So we encourage them to coordinate as much as possible. It's not a numbers game. What we're interested in is the cogency, as I got there, the robustness of the reasons for opposing something or wanting change or something like that. So it's not a numbers game. It's just we want to hear the arguments for that matter. So we encourage submitters in those sorts of situations to have a representative and do that. I will say that we're not going to stop individual submitters having their day in court, so to speak, but we do encourage coordination where it can happen. So tabled evidence and hearing conclusions. So you can choose to table written material at a hearing. But we hope that will be the exception rather than the rule, because it leaves a last minute kind of scrabble for us to get around, especially if there's lots of pages and things to see. We encourage people to provide a summary of the overall submission. You know, we will have read everything ahead of time. So if you just want to focus on the key points, and if you do table it, then please give Jessie or whoever's helping her a copy of that so that she can get a copy for the record, as they say. So once a hearing is completed, a particular hearing on a particular topic, we will not accept any more material on that unless we actually request it, if we feel there's more information we need on something. And if someone wants to submit more information, they need to ask me through Jessie again, to do that. So, but what we will do is look at the potential disruption that could cause to the whole process. This is going to be a hearing process where things are running concurrently. So the reports for the next hearing are being prepared as the last hearing finishes off, and like that. So we will really carefully consider any additional information and how that may prejudice anybody else's position who may want to respond to that information. Hearing schedule. Well, we've organised the hearings according to sort of logical clusters of topics, what we think are logical clusters, but it's like, you can cut the cake so many different ways. It's never going to be a perfect clustering. The panel hearing, each stream will be different in composition, as I said. So not all of us will be hearing everything right through the process. Lurette and I will try and be on every single hearing as much as we can, except if there's a conflict issue, for instance, or Omicron gets us. Some submitters will have to attend more than one hearing, so that's inevitable. We're trying to rationalise it through that clustering of topics. That might help a little bit, but it's inevitable that if your submissions cover a breadth of issues, then you will have to attend a few. But luckily, they're not all bunched together. They're going to be spaced out during the year, so that hopefully will give everyone some breathing space between things. The hearings generally have been organised to 2 to 3 days over a week, depending on the complexity of the issue and the number of submitters, and it will be in the council chambers. We've got the confirmed dates for hearings 1 and 2, sort of in mid and late March. We're going to see how that works in terms of timeframes and processes. That's why we haven't confirmed the rest of the schedule just yet. We don't know whether the rest of the schedule, we've got a tentative one. It may be wildly optimistic in terms of time frame and resources, or might be bang on target. So we're confirming those a bit later on after those hearings. And as I said, formal notices will be sent, including all that time frames and for reports and all that good stuff. So the hearings process itself. So Jessie will email all submitters who've requested to be heard to confirm their hearing time requests. She's going to endeavour to accommodate preferences on a first come first served thing, so preferences for time of day, for instance, or what have you, but she'll do it best. As I said, she'll be juggling lots of balls. Hearings administrator will upload the hearing schedule on the website with indicative times for each party's appearance. Now she knows that people's lives can be complicated. We've got a weird world out there at the moment, so we know changes may be needed on that schedule. So that's just an indicative schedule, and it will have to be flexible. So we've proposed a default, and this is an uncommon practice for district planning hearings, a default of 15 minutes per submitter. Remember, we've read everything. We want submitters to highlight the key points, the burning points they want to make. If they want longer time, please request that through Jessie again, and we'll consider it. As I said, it's a balance between ensuring all submitters have the time they need to adequately present their evidence or the submission with the need to run hearings efficiently. If you drag on for an hour, you're making everybody following after you suffer the penalty. So that's why we have this sort of default 15 minutes. Just a little bit more around the process. Under the Act, we can make some information confidential in some circumstances, primarily commercial or cultural. We prefer to hear submitters and witnesses in person. I'm saying that with crossed fingers these days, but ideally in person is the best thing for us. We've set up protocols and things, which I won't go through now, for running the hearings at the council chambers, but we know that we may have to change that. We may have only 2 days to make it totally virtual, for instance. Hopefully not. And we will run the hearings in line with the most current health order and, of course, with council's own protocols, because it's on their premises. Yep, covered that. So the format of the hearing. So a pouwhere will be held prior to the very first hearing. If we need more pouwhere or whakatau, we'll do that. We'll organise time and for that to occur. So at the beginning of each hearing, I'll chair, if I'm chairing it, I'll outline the hearing schedule and address any procedural matters that might have come up for that particular topic or hearing. Then the Section 42A report authors will talk to their reports. Again, we're not expecting them to read everything. They're going to summarise, they're going to have a pithy, crunchy summary of the key things. And if they've changed their views or advice or want to correct anything, that's their chance before the hearing really gets going, so everyone can hear what the changes they want to make. And then we hear submitters in the order of the schedule. And at the end, we adjourn the hearing. So we will adjourn it. We won't close it, because closing means that's it, it's over. So we will adjourn it. We may then give, I'll go to the submitters first, that's right. So each submitter is going to be allocated a time to appear before the panel. As I said, because of space and COVID-19 restrictions, only those people presenting to the panels will actually be in the council chambers. If most people will be aware, it's actually quite a small room. It's not that large, and especially with spacing. So we're going to just sort of next up kind of person. They'll go up to the submitters table and talk to us, and then they'll leave, and that sort of process. There is a nice waiting room outside for people, and it's quite comfortable. But that's the best way we feel to do that. So that means it's restricted basically to submitters only. We don't want a whole group of people there in support necessarily. It just won't work that way. Get there at least 30 minutes beforehand if you can, and then you'll get directed to wait. When it's your turn and you're in the chambers, I will invite you to come forward together with any representatives or witnesses you may have, and to present your case. And we may ask questions. We're bound to ask questions. This bunch here is quite nosy. They want to know a lot. So we're bound to ask you questions around your submission or your evidence. Focus on what changes you want to be made to the plan and why they're appropriate, or alternatively why you support what's in the plan. We want to hear positive stuff as well. If the provisions there are good, tell us that. If there's a point of clarification sought, particularly from a Section 42A reporting planner, put that through Jessie, please. Or you could do it on the day, but again, it should be the exception rather than the rule. It should be fairly clear what the report is saying. So another little thing is to keep within the scope of your submission or the submission you're supporting or opposing. That's a sort of legal thing, really. You don't suddenly, if you're talking, I don't know, about outstanding landscapes or something, you don't then go on to talk about heritage if it's not in your submission kind of thing. So just to keep within scope, as they say. Yeah, as I said before, it must relate to the topic of that particular hearing, not something coming up or something that's been. I won't thrash that anymore. We're going to have a video record available on the hearings website because we know people can't necessarily attend all the hearings. You know, if it's a 3-day hearing, they may not be able to be there for 3 days to hear what's said. So there'll be a live stream of some or all of the hearings, and detail will be posted, so that's a bit of a work in progress, but we'll get there. Talk to the hearings administrator if you don't wish to be videoed or taped. If you've got a preference not to be in that, let her know and we'll organise that to happen or not happen. So following the hearing, we will ask the Section 42A report authors to either do a verbal right of reply if they feel they don't want to make any changes to what they said in the report. They may be able to do it on the spot, on the day. But if it's more complicated than that, and it's surely going to be, they may want time to actually do a written, thought out piece of response to matters that they've heard during the hearing. So if that's the case, we'll ask that to be filed within 10 working days of the adjournment of the hearing, unless we say otherwise. Jessie will load that reply up on the hearings website, and no further comment will be allowed unless we approve of it. So that will be the last said on that particular topic. Following the receipt of that reply, we'll deliberate in private to make recommendations on submissions on what changes should be made to the district plan, taking everything we've got in front of us, submissions, evidence, Section 42A reports, whatever. Whatever's relevant, we'll take it into consideration. So we are recommending to the council, we don't have the delegated authority to make the decision, so that has to be made by the full council. So those reports will go to the hearing to make the council to make those decisions. At the moment, the idea is to release all the decision reports as one single package. The practice has shown that if you release a package of decisions right at, say, for hearing number 1, by the time you get to number 7, so many things might have changed. You might actually want to go back and change some of that to tie in with other decisions that have been made since. So the best practice is to do it all at once at the end of the hearings. So for designations, not too many people will be necessarily interested in that. There are requirements. We make either a recommended decision to the council on its own designations or to other requiring authorities on their own designations, and they get to make the decision on their own designations. All submitters will be notified of all decisions, and those decisions are open to appeal to the Environment Court. Right, so just finally, just to sum all that up into one page, one few lines. Hearings are a process that try and find a balance between it running an efficient process with the need to hear all views and all information. All participants, submitters, experts, council advisors are there to assist the panel in our thinking. We have a hell of a lot of reading to do, and we encourage written summaries as much as possible, just to focus our minds on the key things. The hearing website will be a critical portal to all things related to this process, as communications, or as always through Jessie. The hearing process is logistically challenging, so please be kind in understanding that. And finally, I think we want to make the hearing process worthwhile and valuable to everyone who's spent time, effort and energy on writing submissions on this plan. And we recognise that, and we want to encourage people to participate and be part of that process. So that's my wrap for the minute. As I said, there's more details in minute number 4. Minute number 4 is a draft set of protocols. I think we're going to set the end of the month, aren't we, Helen, to receive any comments about it or any questions of clarification, and we'll issue a final set after, well, probably early March sometime. just to let you know. Okay, so do we have any questions about the process from here? Where's our roving mic? Any questions? So far, we'll give them a bit of a time to look.
Can I just say that I'm pleased that I'm the mayor and not a commissioner?
Give our online participants a moment or two just to think. Oh, wow. Clear as mud. Well, we can always turn back if there's another question that pops up on screen or in your heads. What we might do now is just to turn to the little clip that Lily Campbell has presented, the friend of the submitters. If we could sort of show that on screen and only take a couple of minutes.
Kia ora koutou, ko Lily taku ingoa, I whānau mai o I Otipote ki te noho o ki Taupō. My name is Lily Campbell and I'm taking on the role of the friend of the submitter for the Central Hawke's Bay District Plan hearing process. I have experience in plan change processes and hearings and have recently been lucky to participate in hearings for both Waikato and Marlborough District Councils. So I'll be here to answer any questions you have about the hearing process. Hearings are a really important part of the decision-making process, as they allow members of the public to have their submissions heard before a panel of independent commissioners. Anyone who wants to express their views about a publicly notified plan can make a written comment, also known as a submission. Submissions can oppose, support, or make requests for changes. The period for receiving submissions has ended, and council officers are now preparing their report in which they make recommendations to the panel on whether to accept or reject submissions. The first hearing begins on the 14th of March. Submitters can choose to present evidence at the hearing, but need to advise council beforehand. Evidence is anything that backs up your statement at the hearing. It can be spoken, written, or visual, but should be directly relevant to your submission. Once all evidence is heard and the hearing has been adjourned, the panel will consider all of the submissions and evidence before making their decision. I can answer any questions you have or provide guidance on the hearing process and what to expect, such as your role as the submitter, the role of council in the panel of commissioners, writing and presenting evidence, attending the hearing, and what happens after the hearing. My contact details are on the Central Hawke's Bay District Council website under the Hearings portal. So please get in touch if you have any questions. I would love to hear from you.
Online as well on the council website as well, so that's will be there for other people. So unless there's any other questions from anyone, we may just break and allow people to mingle, socially distanced appropriately, of course, and yeah, enjoy your evening. Thank you very much.